Erotic store employees, what are some interesting stories/excuses people have given when buying toys/equipment? I had a husband come in looking for a vibrator with an extra long handle. He kept insisting longer, longer, longer whenever I showed him a model, so I finally asked why the necessity of length. He told me his wife had really let herself go and he needed a long handle so he wouldn't have to get too close to her. He wouldn't even touch that with a 10-foot pole. The 20-foot one it is. I had a guy who would come in once every 2 weeks or so. He would buy around 10 to 20 movies and not much else. At least one of the movies would always be one from our gay section, which always prompted him to explain he was from a state where you couldn't buy porn legally, so he would buy it for multiple friends, one of which happened to be gay. I didn't really care and always just said something like, "That's nice." The best sale I ever had was a man who bought a few movies, a couple fleshlights, and a life-sized fake ass. His ticket came to about $1,300. It was right at the end of the night. I helped him carry it to his car. Yes, the ass was that big, included thighs and part of torso. He left and I closed up for the night. The next day, my manager asked about the sale and I told him the story. He informed me the man called and said he bought a couple movies and that was it, and demanded the rest of the charges be removed from his cards. He said it was probably a bad case of buyer's remorse. I still got my commission and never heard about it again. Long post. One sticks out in my mind. We had a woman in her 60s or 70s that came in and bought an excessive amount of DVDs. They were all different kinds too. Hetero, homo, fetish, everything. I was so caught off guard, I started talking to her about free porn sites, but she said her son prefers DVDs. I must have given her an odd look, so she elaborated and said her son was mentally challenged and had been displaying sexually inappropriate behaviors in the past, so she bought him the movies and no more incidents. I didn't believe her until she came back in a week later with her son. I spent the next 2 years seeing them every 2 weeks or so. She started coming in and handing me cash and would go sit in the car while he made his selections. He was nonverbal, and I'd have to help him pick out the movies and filter for anything that looked particularly aggressive per her request to me. I eventually started keeping DVDs to the side for him and would give him the free promotional DVDs and sample lubes we'd get. I used to work at an adult novelty store. We sold all sorts of things, from safe-for-work stuff like jewelry and masks to not safe-for-work stuff like 2-foot-long double-sided dongs. Most folks didn't find the need to make an excuse for what they were buying. There were 3 types of customers. We would have the regulars, usually men in their 60s or older, who would come in for a few DVDs and some enhancement pills. They don't talk much, in and out. We would get the college kids in for a laugh. They'd wander around the store for an hour, touching everything, and usually leave without buying anything. If they did buy, it was always a gag gift. Then there were the professionals, either performing drag queens, strippers, or professional dominatrixes. They were my favorites. They were kind, polite, and always knew exactly what they wanted. My first wife used to sell sex toys. She'd go to conventions with other sex toy sellers and distributors. One of the sellers had a market surrounded by 3 colleges, one of them Ivy League. She said that she had so many college-age women who didn't know how anything worked down there that she started carrying pamphlets for Planned Parenthood. So this is your body. 12 facts about your cycle, and other honest-to-goodness educational materials. Women would ask her medical questions, and she'd have to explain what a gynecologist was for. "Honey, I just sell glowing condoms and dildos shaped like tentacled dinosaurs. You need to ask a real medical professional these questions." And this was in 2009. Not a worker, but a customer. I wandered into one and asked for the most embarrassing, inappropriate gag gift to give to a guy at his bachelor's party. Many years ago, somebody told me that you could buy an inflatable sheep at those stores, so I was hoping to find something like that in there, or maybe a horse rear you could screw, or the world's smallest penis pump. The cashier looked at me very strangely, suspiciously, and said they didn't sell anything like that. I don't think she believed it was a gag gift. You can buy inflatable sheep at those stores, and I have. Name unrelated. Well, maybe not. I was in Texas over a decade ago, and it happened to be my buddy's birthday. We ended up getting hammered, and a group of us went to a strip club, which I was later kicked out of. Different story for a different time. My buddy got separated from the group and ended up back at our hotel. So on the way back from the club, we decided to go birthday shopping for him. A few days before, we had seen a sign off the highway for a store called Condoms to Go. Which is kind of funny because all of us in the car assumed that condoms were always portable and that using them where you bought them, dining in, so to speak, was frowned upon. So we pop in there and boom, it's an erotic store. Perfect, time to find a gift. By far the best thing on the shelves was an inflatable sheep with a voice box that you'd put at the end of, well, the end, and it would make bah noises when poked. $50 later, it was ours, and we went back to the hotel. Buddy with the birthday had already passed out, so we decided to unbox it for him so he could wake up next to his new plastic friend. Here's the happy couple cuddling. He wakes up in the morning and is very confused what happened the night before. I would have been too in that position. Many laughs are had, well, some, we were super hungover, and we hop on our uneventful flight back home. My favorite part of this story is when we get to the airport and we're waiting for our luggage, his duffel bag is one of the first to come down the slides. And I don't know if you know this, but those bags don't drop softly. And his came down and smacked the end of the guardrail so hard, it set off the sheep's voice box. Yes, he brought it home to show the wife. So a full flight of people are standing there waiting for their bags, and his starts making a loud bah, bah sound. He runs to his bag, grabs it off the carousel, and immediately runs out of the airport while 60 to 80 people stared in confusion. All in all, I give it a 10 out of 10. Best $50 I've spent in a while. I worked at a hospital, but the story is not safe for work, and he was using a sex toy. As an X-ray tech, I saw several weird X-rays. One in particular was an action figure inside a man's rectum. As I handed him the X-rays, he says, "Well, I'm sure you saw the X-rays and have questions." Well, I was playing with my daughter in the bathroom and slipped, and I fell right on the dang thing. I remained silent, but my first thought was, why are you playing with your daughter naked? It's funny to hear people tell the whole "I slipped and it went right into my ass" stories, because anyone who has even remotely tried anything anally related, on themselves or others, knows that unless you're Mr. Slave from South Park, that it doesn't work like that. "Lemmywinks, you must find your way out of this place, or you will surely die. This way has been closed off by the great sphincter. To escape, you must journey up to the dark reaches of the intestine and past the stomach. Who am I? Just a friend. Heed my words, Lemmywinks. Your time is running out. Make for the large intestine. Start straight ahead." Not me, but a buddy of mine worked at a smut shop for a few years a long time ago. He's got tons of stories. But my favorite one was when he was working and this older guy came to buy a bunch of gay porn and rent some gay videos. I told you it was a long time ago. After the guy paid, he left and went home, called the store and asked for my friend by description. My buddy answered, and the guy said he'd give him $40 for his underwear. I asked him, "Well, what the hell did you do?" "I stripped those bastards off in the bathroom, threw them in a plastic bag, and gave them to that idiot for $40. He never saw the guy again, and he has some more awesome stories about other people, but I always liked this one. This is not me, but it's a story I read way back in the olden days, before even web-based message boards existed, and you used email message boards. So, dude worked at a smaller video rental store back in the day, where they didn't have enough staff to have someone watching just the adult section, which was separated off into its own restricted room. They had had a lot of trouble with people going in there, seeing that they were alone, and basically wanking it to the porno box covers. So they installed a security camera and an intercom/PA system so that whoever was working the front could keep an eye on things and tell people to knock it off if they tried anything funny. Well, one day, our dude was working the front when he caught someone acting suspicious on the porn cam. When pervert looked around and started reaching into his pants, employee hit the PA button and yelled, "Put it down." Pervert jumped out of his skin when suddenly the voice of God rang out of nowhere telling him to put the porno down, and he went tearing out of there like a scalded dog. Customer here had an awkward conversation with the poor gal behind the counter. I was looking for a good male massager, but wanted to know if she had any good recommendations. I was previously ripped off through some recommendations online that turned out to be cheap Chinese pieces of junk. The product pages artificially bolstered by botnets and fake reviews. The most pleasure the device gave me was the comedy gold of its English instruction booklet. So I wanted a human's perspective, somebody who actually handles these kinds of things on the daily. Something that won't die after a month. I trust your judgment over internet reviews. Tried a couple recommended products online and got burned both times. Oh wow, she reels in surprise. I'm sorry to hear that. Did you have to see a doctor? If there's one thing I love about sex shop workers, they have a fantastic way to not make me feel like the most awkward person in the room. Bless her heart. I was tempted to leave them a 5-star Google Guides review using my real email address to really emphasize how grateful I was. Click on one of the videos you see on the screen now, or a Karen will sue you.